Well, this is going to be a tougher video for me to get through. This is something, what I'm going to be talking about, that I've suffered with for quite some time. And over the past year or so, now that I understand what it is and why I do some of the things that I do, and now that I'm trying to get rid of it, it's uncomfortable to talk about. It's uncomfortable to talk about in church. It's uncomfortable to talk about with parents, with friends. It's responsible for bringing down a lot of ministries, a lot of big name ministers, Christian music stars. It's a very destructive, both physically and spiritually, thing. And that's the spirit of lust. And lust doesn't care if you're a man or a woman or even a child. It's not talked about a lot in churches because either, well, it's just uncomfortable for people to talk about. And how can a pastor or a leader talk about something when more than likely they're actively involved in it? And they can't in good conscience preach a sermon on it and tell you not to do it when they're right smack dab in the middle of it. And yes, I said it does not care if you are a child. Because look at how young children are having children. A lot of you my age, 48, your mom had you at a young age, 16, 17 years old. Some of you probably a little bit younger. Your mom was probably a little bit younger. But just do a Google search on the amount of children having children that were under the age of 16 in the last, just say 20 years, just so you can get a number in your head. And that's uncomfortable to think about for a lot of people because you think it can't happen or it's not happening to your kid. Think about yourself. How young were you when you first saw pornographic material for the first time? A video, a magazine, picture, whatever it was. And a lot of this, it's going to be uncomfortable for me because I'm going to be speaking from experience and be open and honest about it. Because it's something that I'm going through and I have to rid myself of that. So I was probably 12, when I seen my first magazine. A friend in the neighborhood at the time, growing up, had got one. I think it was hidden in the woods or either one of our houses or something. It was hid somewhere and we'd look at it. Which led to masturbation at about the age of 13. And those two kind of go hand in hand, lust and masturbation. It's one of those self-gratification things, and you can't do the masturbation thing without having lustful thoughts about somebody else while you're doing it. I don't care what you say, I don't care who you are. You got to have something to get you going. So that's a sin as well. They kind of go hand in hand there. It's uncomfortable to talk about. But it's nothing to get mad about. It's nothing. It's got to be talked about as part of spiritual warfare. And you have to get rid of this because it's a destructive force. And I'm going to have to break this down into 2 separate videos because we're already 6 minutes in on this and I've got 6 pages of notes and we've got some stuff to get to. So let's get to the breakdown of this. The spirit of lust is a often religious or spiritual concept describing an insatiable destructive force, sometimes viewed as a demonic influence, which it is, that drives intense, unrestrained sexual cravings, objectification, and selfish desires. Selfish desires. Pleasures of yourself. Kind of new age sounding, where it's all about self. And do what you want. And it's all about you and your God. And, well, this pleases me, so I'm going to do this. No, it's a selfish desire. It distorts natural desires, leading to adultery, addiction, and emotional damage. Common manifestations include idolatry, greed, and relentless need for sexual novelty or power. The biblical meaning of lust. Lust is an intense, idolatrous, or unlawful. Now, unlawful there is biblically unlawful, going against God's law, not necessarily illegal, but in some cases, lust will cause unlawful. I don't have to say that. It's not even. But in this biblical meaning, it's unlawful against God's law. Desire that prioritizes selfish cravings, there's that selfish part again, over God's will. There you go, right there. Your selfish craving, what pleases you, over God's will, often objectifying others or demeaning them. While rooted in strong desire, the Bible distinguishes it from godly passion by its destructive nature, focusing on sinful cravings, especially sexual impurity, greed, or covetousness. Covetousness. I had to put that into Google Translate to even understand how to even say that. That leads to spiritual decay. So since I had to put that in there, you know I didn't know what that meant. So, covetousness is an eager, often excessive desire to possess wealth, material goods, or things that belong to someone else. That's what that big long word means. Covetousness. Covetousness. So there's that. Key examples and manifestations. Sexual misconduct, extramarital affairs, pornography addiction, and objectification of others. yeah, that's running wild, and has been for a long time, objectifying of others. When you see someone on TV or on the internet or in person, and the thoughts that go through your head, we'll tie that into some other stuff, but that's objectification, and objectifying those people that you see. Well, that kind of goes hand in hand with the masturbation thing. Lust and masturbation, you think about them at a later time when you're alone. The enemy puts those thoughts of that person you've seen and what they look like, and one thing leads to another, and you're in another sin. Insatiable desire. This is going to be the rough one for me whenever I read this and wrote it down. A constant craving for new partners or experiences that never bring lasting satisfaction. All right, time to be honest. After my dad and my stepdad passed on, and I got divorced. Instead of moving out here on this property and helping my mom out and doing what I was supposed to do, I was bound and determined to stay in West Monroe. For one, it was closer to my job. For two, the amount of people that were there and the dating selection. Here's the rough part. I was on every single dating site, every single hookup site. If there was a way to meet someone online for something, I was on it. And that's what I would do while I was at work. I would message IM people, set up things to do on the days off, send pictures, send videos. A constant craving for new partners or experiences that never bring lasting satisfaction. That part hit me hard. Because there was a time, during that time I was going through that, it was not uncommon for me to have more than one hookup in a night's time. The constant craving. The other person wouldn't even be fully out the door yet, and I was already on my phone, messaging someone else, seeing if they were available to come over. Because this person liked one thing, and that person liked another thing, and that person liked another thing, and it's the exact same thing I'm reading right there. It's never satisfied. And that never being satisfied is a dangerous thing. Because that's what leads to porn addiction and going further and further and further down that rabbit hole until a real life person will do absolutely nothing for you, because you've saturated yourself and you've allowed yourself to be taken over by this thing so much that you see these people that are acting in these films and the things that they are doing, and you think that that's what you need to do. To be able to get your satisfaction, because that's the destructive nature of that spirit. And before you know it, your partner does nothing for you. Or you have to have multiples. Because each one likes something different. And at the time, it seemed okay. You're Mr. Player, Mr. Ladies Man. Look at me. Look at all the people I've been with. Look at how many people I dated in a weekend. Always this and always that. Selfish craving over God's will. Objectifying others. It leads to a dead end. And once you understand what this is and start studying this and getting into it, you realize what a piece of crap you've been. Misplaced priorities, a lust for power, lust for wealth, or lust for recognition, where personal ambition overrides moral or spiritual principles. This next one. This is another one. Spiritual disconnection, a loss of desire for prayer, religious devotion, or intimacy with God. With 100% certainty, I can tell you there was none of that. There was no waking up and thanking God for the day. There was no thanking Him for anything. There was no praying. There was no reading the Bible. There was no reading devotions. There was nothing. It was wake up, check your messages, drink some coffee, go to work, get busy on getting the next hookup. As much as I'm trying to get this out and maybe help someone, I'm preaching to myself at the same time about this. Common synonyms and related concepts. The spirit of Jezebel or Delilah. Specific biblical archetypes often linked to seductive, controlling spirits. Yep, a lot of seduction, a lot of controlling going on in that. Idolatry, placing physical or worldly desires above spiritual values. It's all about yourself. It's all about what your dirty flesh wants. Speaking of which, fleshly desire, lust of the flesh, self-gratifying. There you go, self-gratifying. Not gratifying God, not making Him happy, making yourself happy, being your own God, doing what you want to do when you want to do it. Immoral desires, often contrasted with spiritual living, goes against it. It goes up against everything God wants for you. I kind of don't want to read that part. But there is a demon associated with this, other than the Jezebel and Delilah, because those were actual people. But it's the spirit that they had. I'm not 100% sure how all that worked. They call it the Jezebel and Delilah spirit because that's the way those people were. Controlling, seductive, manipulating, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to look it up, since I've already said it, the demon frequently associated with lust and destruction in religious tradition is called Asmodeus. Asmodeus. You can verify everything I told you by looking that up. It's up to you. I wouldn't go say it, but there it is. How it is countered. Approaches to overcoming this spirit often involve spiritual disciplines such as guarding the heart, redirection of desires towards spiritual growth, fasting, and in some traditions, deliverance ministry to break its hold. So how it is countered is also, if I'm being honest, it's also why I stay so busy nowadays. Because if I'm busy doing stuff around the house, or if I go out fishing all day, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, which really ain't nothing. Can do that all the time. If I stay busy, then by the time I'm done doing what I'm doing for the day, then I'll be so wore out that I won't have time to think about those fleshly desires. I won't have the energy to try to act on them. So if I can do as much stuff as possible and wear myself down, then I won't have the energy to do that. Now, is that healthy? Nope. Not one bit, because you can overextend yourself, especially if you're doing it different things during the work week. And it's just a whole lot of things that can go wrong. So you have to renew your mind to the Word of God and be strong. And learn how to say no when them text messages come in that you hadn't received in 6 months' time, and you're trying to be good, and you've had a good little streak of a couple of months, and then out of the blue there's that old hookup that just ding, what are you doing tonight? Sometimes it's hard to turn that down. Just being honest. Already 24 minutes deep into this. Definitely going to have to break it into 2 parts. We're almost done. We'll close out with a couple of verses about this. About lust. Matthew 5:28. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. That connects into what I was talking about, the objectification of others. See that woman on TV, in Walmart, in Academy, on the internet, wherever you see her, you're admiring her, you're oogling over her legs and over whatever, and women do the same thing, how guys look, and then all of a sudden you're gonna take a shower, and one thing leads to another, and That old enemy's right there. Hey, you remember such and such from 45 minutes ago or 3 hours whenever you seen her? Yeah, remember that? There you are lusting over. And there you are pleasuring yourself. And there you are in yet another sin. It all ties together. 1 Thessalonians 4, 3 through 5. It is God's will that you should be sanctified, that you should avoid sexual immorality, that each of you should learn to control his own body in a way that is holy and honorable, not in passionate lust like the heathens who do not know God. Acting like heathens doing that. It's exactly what I was doing. Acting like heathens. 1 John 2:16 describes lust as lust of the flesh, which we just went over that right up here. Self-gratifying, immoral desires, often contrasted with spiritual living. Lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life. Lust of the eyes. What's pretty to your eyes? That looks good. I want that. I want that. I want that. Covetousness. You're wanting all that. See, it all ties in. 2 Timothy 2:22 instructs to flee youthful passions. I'll tell you exactly what it says. Flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace along with those who call on the Lord out of pure heart. Flee the evil desires of youth. It's a key point in that verse right there. Desires of youth. Go ahead and remember back for a second your teenage years when you started driving and going to parties and then high school. And what was desires of the youth? Get drunk. Probably get high. Probably get laid. There you go. All ties back in. It's almost like whoever wrote this knew what all this was going to happen. And he's warning you. Flee from it. Exodus 20:17 defines the root of greed as coveting or lusting after another's belongings. Their wife, their husband, their car, their house, their bank account. It's one big mess when you get involved in it. It's just destruction. Physical destruction, spiritual destruction. And it's not good for anybody. Nobody at all. So that's the end of part 1. 28 minutes into it. I didn't know it was going to be that long, but I had to be honest. Because I'm in the middle of battling this, trying to understand it, and understanding what to do, and how to fight it. I hope this first part was able to put some things into perspective, maybe a little better understanding. It's rough, man. You need somebody you can talk to and somebody you can trust and you're comfortable with talking to about this to be able to get through it. And sometimes a parent's not it because it's embarrassing. Sometimes a pastor or church leader's not it because they don't want to hear it. They want to throw you off to somebody else, go to a counseling agency, go to a therapist, go to anybody else but them. They don't want to hear it. Probably because they've got the same problems as you do. And they don't know how to handle it. Well, if you're in that situation and you don't have anybody to talk to about it, feel free to send me a message and we can talk about it and get through it together, because it's not an easy thing to do, but it's got to be done. It's very destructive, which I'll get into more of that in part 2. Break that down a little bit further and help you better understand all that. So at some point this week I'll get that done. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. God will never leave you. God will never forsake you. His promises are real. His promises are for you and for me, and they are for today. They're not just for people 3,000 years ago. So we can get through this. So I hope this helped you. It got a lot of stuff off my chest, and we're going to be okay. So until part 2, God bless you and good night.